This is the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast on Friday, the 17th of January 2025. This edition is timed at 0940 GMT and British Standard Time on Friday, 17th of January 2025. We are continuing the evidential updates and commentary on the situation in terms of news in the mainstream in the United Kingdom printed papers, collectively known as Fleet Street. Here at the Fleet Street papers today, I haven't brought the Daily Telegraph and the Financial Times, but I have got the other ones. I haven't got the Financial Times, the Daily Telegraph, and the Guardian. What I have is the Times, the Sun, owned by the Rupert Murdoch, the Daily Mail, Daily Express, Daily Star, and the I paper. So the newspapers, I newspaper has got quite an interesting item on the front page, trailer on the front page, for a piece actually contained on page 21 by Kwasi Kwarteng. Kwasi Kwarteng is the Chancellor of the latest Liz Truss, who sacked him as the scapegoat. And that's what he is telling Starmer. He should not repeat that it wasn't his fault, Kwarteng is saying. It was actually Liz Truss, the Lettice's fault. We shall go into that in some detail later in this edition. And the papers are mainly running celebrations of the so-called peace deal between the Palestinian Hamas organization and the Zionist State of Israel, which apparently has been brought about because of the imminence in 1 week's time of Donald Trump in the White House. This is a piece by Patrick Cowan, the son of one of the sons of Patricia and Claude Cowan. Patrick Cowan says that the Zionists should not be over celebrating the return to the White House of Donald Trump. And I think he's right, because by the time he enters the White House for the second time, Donald Trump has been sufficiently pressed under the various procedural hammers and rulings to impress on him the importance of not overdoing it. And I think Trump will have less personally central scandals around him during these 4 years than he had during 2016 and 2020. Because the lessons he has learned, the lessons that Trump has been forced to learn, of course, have been lessons that include the historic role played by Stormy Daniel. Amazing. As I have said repeatedly, she is the women's champion. No other woman, none of the overhyped Hollywood stars or anybody in the United States can remotely match. She is the one who single handedly caused Trump to become a convict. Incredible. Incredible. Whatever her career as a former or even current adult film actress, the legacy that Stormy Daniels has created for herself and for any number of women is that of standing up to serial philanderer and liar and misogynist Donald Trump. Now, the Trump is still called Orange Man Baby in the paper that gave Liz Truss the lettuce. This Orange Man Baby is celebrating the naming of Donald Trump as the Orange Man Baby. The Daily Star has quietly inserted into the journalistic style in Britain that is synonymous with the successful calling of lettuce, Liz Truss lettuce. Now, Kwasi Kwarteng, I shall go back to the page 21 of the I paper, and I shall read some of the contents of the Kwasi Kwarteng contribution. Now, here is the picture that shows Rachel Reeves giving a speech in the House of Commons. Now, here is the first paragraph of Kwasi Kwarteng. Gallons of ink have been spilt describing the close relationship between the Prime Minister and the Chancellor, and how the pressure Rachel Reeves finds herself under is increasingly causing headaches for Sir Keir Starmer. I, of course, quote from the paper. I don't call him Sir myself, but that is what I'm reading as written by Kwasi Kwarteng. Kwarteng is kind of setting out the relationship between the finance minister and the prime minister of any regime or administration in the United Kingdom. And that is what he is saying here. These two roles have been at the center of any British government since Second World War. And you don't need to be a historical expert to know that prime ministers who sack their chancellors often have a very limited shelf life after that, which applies to Geoffrey Howe being given the sack or forced to resign by Margaret Hilda Roberts Thatcher. And then Kwasi returns to his autobiographical recollections. I remember being in Washington, District of Columbia, in October 2022. The markets had reacted very badly to our mini budget, that is him and Liz Truss. And there were rumors that the Prime Minister, Liz Truss, would sack me. A journalist friend told me that Truss had already spoken to a number of colleagues, sounding them out for the job. Frankly, I thought that was mad. Sacking me would effectively mean Truss was signing her own political death warrant. Foolishly, I believed that I was safe, at least for the moment. Yet all the time while I was in Washington, rumors continued to circulate. Then I had insisted calls from number 10 itself. Then I had insistent calls from number 10 itself to come back to London. At that point, the penny began to drop. Maybe she would sack me. I returned a day earlier than was planned, landing in Heathrow on Friday morning. I was driven in my ministerial Range Rover straight to Downing Street. For the second and last time in my life, I was being driven by convoy, so I experienced no traffic whatsoever. On the way to Whitehall, I was shown a tweet from the account of a well known political journalist. My recollection is that the tweet was sent around 10:20 a.m. I was due to see the Prime Minister at 11 a.m. The tweet said I was about to be sacked as Chancellor. My special advisor asked whether I thought it was true. It was undoubtedly true. The journalist in question was essentially the go-to person for government leaks and number 10 unofficial briefings. He had very reliable sources. It was rather surreal to be sacked by Twitter. I knew Donald Trump had fired his Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, that way, and Tillerson knew nothing about his dismissal until he saw Trump's tweet. I had a similar, though not identical, experience. The main difference, of course, was that Trump had sent the tweet from his own account, thus placing himself at the center of the story. The Prime Minister, by whom he means Lettice Liz, apologized to me for the way in which I learned my fate. Deep down, I knew I had to go. We had rushed the whole job and now didn't have the stomach to try to see out the immediate consequences. I was also certain that Truss was finished. She had based her whole leadership campaign around a pro-growth tax-cutting agenda. There was no way she could survive. I thought Truss would last about 3 weeks, but she announced her resignation a mere 6 days after my dismissal. Only 5 days after that, Rishi Sunak moved into number 10. Starmer will have watched what happened to me, and it's why I don't think he will sack his chancellor, no matter how intense speculation continues to be. If he were intemperate enough to sack her, parts of the British press and Labour's opposition, now baying for blood, would simply redouble their efforts to unseat him. Challenges lie ahead, however. Growth remains anemic, and I have never believed that raising taxes could lead to a growing economy. But any move now would be extremely premature. We have to wait and see whether growth comes. If it does, the nation, and not least the government, will breathe the huge sigh of relief. Breathe a huge sigh of relief. If it doesn't, there will be renewed call for Reeves' dismissal. The Prime Minister, I expect, is too level-headed to heed those cries. He knows what happened to me. He will not commit political harakiri by such action, by harakiri meaning political suicide. And the I newspaper in which this piece appears The described Kazai Kwarteng is a former Tory MP who served as Chancellor of the Exchequer between September and October 2022 under Liz Truss. They don't call her the lettuce, but that is what she became during her tenure in the post. So this is the I newspaper. I have read the main piece there, for which I bought this. And next is the Daily Star, which coined the word lettuce for Liz Truss, and effectively so. Now, the piece that appears on page 2 prominently is headed Labour in U-turn on grooming sex gangs. Cooper announces rapid review. Now, that is obviously a kind of way to produce a reduction in the tension and to produce the calming of the waters, let's say. And there are the pictures of Donald Trump and Joe Biden, of course. And it says that the humans are the aliens. We shall come back to this another time, not this edition maybe, because that will require a lot of discussion. Now, this they're saying that this guy, the star, troubled star, dies day before court date. Soap actor was facing coke charges. What they're insinuating there is that he committed suicide. Paul Donnan dies hours before he was due to face court over cocaine charges. The soap legend, who passed away at just 46, was expected at Warrington Magistrates Court in Cheshire, accused of possessing several bags of the Class A drug. Court documents show he was also accused of driving under the influence of drugs. In November, Paul faced Bristol magistrates accused of driving offences, and he described his severe mental health problems in court. So this guy may have been pushed to commit suicide. That is what they're implying in all but the actual words. No sign in the Star newspaper of anything to do with Hugh Siddiq. So the grooming gang is the one that is the main page 1 splash on the Daily Express, which is why I spent the money in buying this at £1.70. I don't normally buy the Express, not because of the price only, but because it is completely tasteless and superficial. Now, this one is a piece that they are calling an exclusive grooming gang victim's message to the Prime Minister, as she, that is the victim, demands full national inquiry. Well, Yvette Cooper has produced the plan. I don't think they're going to change it. Now that they've done that, this will be the Labour Party's response. We will be talking about the grooming victim, and the important thing that I'm focusing on is the pictures of these 4 gangsters, rapists, I would call them. So these 4 have been jailed for 132 years. And this is the woman that they raped. And she is quoted as saying, people who should have protected me told me the abuse was my fault, like I was the problem. I tried to kill myself. Why shouldn't I get justice for that? So we should be talking about this. This is a 2-page spread. And they've given a good spot to Kemi Badenoch, saying that Labour is killing investment and jobs. Again, we shall be talking about that another time. Now, who is this one? This picture is of a pensioner. And this is the story about the stupidity of Keir Starmer and the idiocy of Rachel Reeves. The last thing they should have done is to attack the vulnerable and remove the winter fuel payment, etc., etc. So we shall be talking about these in due course, not in this edition necessarily. Now, I'm interested in seeing if the Daily Mail is stopped on the Tulip Siddiq story. Let's see what they're saying, because they're the ones that actually broke the story in the United Kingdom, as they claim. And there is a trailer on this page, page 5, World Publishing exclusive, intimate, horrifying, packed with extraordinary insights into Hitler's private life, unseen for 80 years, the secret diary that will shock the world, not just the readers of the Daily Mail, but the world, starting exclusively in the Daily Mail on Saturday, which is 18th of January, 2025. And there is another piece about the grooming scandal, my nightmare school girl years at the mercy of Rochdale grooming monsters by Scarlett, age 19. The first in-depth interview with teen victim and her father. That is the Daily Mail. And there is this other one about the sex-related murder. 13 years for the trans hate mob who knifed teenager for lying about her gender identity. And this is a follow-up on the alleged deal between the Palestinians and the Zionist state of Israel. And this is the piece about this child that was murdered, Elaine Andam, who dreamed of being a criminal barrister. She was murdered. This is the murderer, whose name is a mixture of an Arabic, Hassan, and Sentamu is an African name. And I have elsewhere wondered if Sentamu is the name connected with the John Sentamu, the corrupt clergyman from Uganda who was made the Bishop of York. Now, they've got an editorial condemning the proposal to compensate Jerry Adams. And Another one calling for protecting pensioners. And the first one is about Kemi allegedly putting the boot into Labour politically, that is. Now, there is this interesting piece about Jennifer Aniston. Because she has denied gossip that she has had or she is having an affair with Barack Obama, whose marriage with Michelle Obama is on the rocks apparently. Now let's see what the reporter from New York, Tom Leonard, has said on this one. For all the gushing exchanges when Michelle Obama appeared on the chat show of our friend, the actress and singer Jennifer Hudson, last month, the former First Lady was far more matter of fact when asked about husband Barack. He's doing okay, she said. Yeah, he's still working too hard, you know. But I think that's something he will always do. Apart from adding that he was focused on his latest project, the Obama Presidential Center, a museum and library in Chicago, and was difficult to buy Christmas presents for she had little to say about her husband of 30 odd years. Discussing their Christmas plans in Hawaii, she revealed, we are going to head to the island for a little sun and to try to unwind. That's why you gotta pick your husband, right? He got a lot cuter when I found out he was from Hawaii. She was certainly unwinding. Mrs. Obama, 61 today, didn't even break off from her holiday to come back for the state funeral in Washington last week of ex President Jimmy Carter. Her husband was instead placed next to Donald Trump. She will be absent too at Trump's inauguration in Washington, D.C. on Monday. It's a tradition admittedly broken by the Trumps themselves when they missed Joe Biden's 2021 ceremony. That previous presidents and the first ladies put aside their political differences to attend inaugurations. So, where is the Aniston story then? It is way into the middle, I think. Because I'm not going to read all of it. The couple have also had to contend with lingering rumors of Barack's wandering eye. Last October, friends, star Jennifer Aniston publicly dismissed as absolutely untrue claims by a US gossip magazine that she and Obama were in a relationship, making Michelle feel betrayed. The rumor was compounded by the hosts of a popular pop culture podcast, Who Weekly, who claimed that Obamas were living separate lives while he and Aniston were having a full blown affair. Aniston told a US television chat show host, I have met him once. I know Michelle more than him. In a 2017 biography of Obama by the Pulitzer Prize winning writer David Garrow, Sheila Mayoshi Jaiga, an ex girlfriend who Barack came close to marrying before he met Michelle, revealed they had kept up. They had kept up an intimate, if occasional, relationship between 91 and 92 when he had been with Michelle for a couple of years. I always felt bad about it, Jagger told Garrow. In late 2013, the National Enquirer claimed the Obama's marriage had dissolved after Michelle discovered his Secret Service bodyguards were covering up for his infidelity. They were endlessly fighting, it was claimed, after he posed for a selfie with the glamorous blonde Danish Prime Minister, Haile Thorning Schmidt, at a memorial service for Nelson Mandela. Now, this is the one that I have exclusively, extensively commented on at the time. Mrs. Obama was photographed sitting on his other side with a face like a thunder. Mrs. Obama, the Enquirer claimed, would stand by her husband until his presidency ended, when he would move back to Hawaii and she would stay in Washington. More than a decade later, they are still together, albeit she is the one in Hawaii. Whatever the state of their marriage, it won't have been helped by the sight of Trump and Obama giggling together at Jimmy Carter's funeral. Now, this is not an investigative story, is it? This is a completely superficial one. So, there is nothing so far about Bangladesh. Let's continue checking on the pages of the Daily Mail if there is anything. So Rachel Johnson is the sister of Boris Johnson. The world's most famous fantasy author, shocking sexual assault claims from 9 women, and the troubling silence of the literary elite. Now, let's see if there is anything on the remaining pages. I don't think that they've got any more space. I think what will happen, they will go to town on Tulip Siddiq at the weekend. I think the Sunday, Mail on Sunday would definitely do a piece by Abul Tahir, following up all the things that have now happened since her resignation last Tuesday from the government. So the inquiry that Yvette Cooper has announced into the so-called grooming gang, the Sun is saying that it's a retreat, caving in, it's a surrender by the Labour Party. Now, the only tulip comment to be found is, of course, in the Julia Hartley Brewer piece in the Sun. Let's see if she's copying Rod Little in the Sun yesterday. Now, she has written this piece in a way that suggests that she doesn't know any better. She writes in this paragraph, it says her aunt, that is Tulip Siddique's aunt, and for the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, and her family there. Hasina Azad doesn't have really close family in Bangladesh anymore. So they don't really check the facts. As I pointed out, various errors in Rod Little's piece on Tulip Siddique yesterday in the Sun as well. Ali Ross is absolutely devoid of any content. These so-called celebrity columnists are so absolutely empty. Is it the dummies that actually are the main readership of the market of the Sun? And they've got a story about the writer Lynch, who wrote Twin Peaks, and they're saying to him Rest in peace, David Lynch, 1946 to 2025. Let's check the times from page 1 to page 2, 3, and onwards. If they have got any news item about Tulip Siddiq. This will be the page where it would be if they had one, but no piece on Tulip Siddiq or Sheikh Hasina as a follow-up. And I'd suggest that in the Sunday Times, which ran 2-page story on Tulip Siddiq last Sunday, this next coming Sunday will have a follow-up. Most definitely. Because she resigned after the Sunday Times published that story, 2 pages, on the Sunday, and she resigned on the Tuesday. So Michelle Obama's birthday is today. She's aged 61. There is no letter about Tulip Siddiq in the Times either. There is an editorial about Jerry Adams being lined up for payment of a compensation